cash crisis worse. Talking about Venezuela once again.
Systemic important banks. They removed the 1,000 thing on there called monetary awareness.
All right, we're checking in for another RTD News update, and things are continuing to develop at a very rapid pace. So I wanted to check in, connect, and plug in and try to put some of the pieces of the puzzle together towards the bigger picture, which is what we're experiencing now with the reshuffling or the monetization of gold with a new or a revised pricing mechanism heading from out east. But I hope everyone's doing well. As always, want to make sure I welcome everybody to the community. Any first-time viewers, definitely make sure you plug in for the live stream where you get a chance to let your voice be heard. But what will be short and concise and straight to the point today. Just on my back end here, I love to just dive deep down some rabbit holes and try to understand things at a much more in-depth level. And so I'm going to put together some things here and just basically point to how one action has led to an immediate response or the announcement of a different response. And then there's some things that have me concerned that I wanted to bring to your attention. And so as always, before I do that, I want to make sure I welcome any first-time viewers to the community. And also I want to get your thoughts, a little artwork here to kind of put together the piece of the puzzles. I try to use this artwork to paint the entire narrative. And so you see the Russian flag and the possible repricing of gold from a central bank, which has never been done before in modern history. We're going to talk about that. And then here you guys see some of the current metals paper pushers and their response to this renomination or revaluation of gold, the gold gram rather. So let's just dive in right away. Let me not waste any time. Also, let me make sure I just, for the sake of making sure everyone realize what's going on, I'm trying to reach people and let them understand what's going on. So I want to make sure you guys subscribe if you're new to the channel, and then also make sure you click the bell notification so you stay plugged in when we go live. Okay, so let me just jump right in. I want to be quick and straight to the point. So here is an article. I had to also, provide a little, back history story to this, but this is an article. What is it? 2019. And this was something I was talking about then, but I thought I would start off with this. But, central bank gold buying hits its highest level in half a century. So I always knew at some point we would start hearing gold being mentioned from the headlines. And here we are today with gold being brought to the forefront of people's attention. So like never before, more people are finding out about gold than they ever have before. And this is a good thing because it helps people with their monetary education. And that's what this is all about. And so here, just to give you an idea what this is, it says in 2018, central banks bought the most gold by volume since 1967. And we know what happened in that time frame there. But it says, in particular, the Russian central bank is leading the way as it looks to reduce its reliance on dollar reserves. And this was according to statistics grabbed by the World Gold Council in 2018. So this is just, the start of where we're going to head to. And so I want to jump right into another story that was, this is definitely a must talk about, because this is what this is all about ultimately, the shift away from the dollar, further de-dollaring process. And so here over the weekend, it says it's official. Russia central bank announces the ruble bound to gold, 5,000 rubles for a gram. And so I had a great interview earlier. I'm going to post it tonight and diving deeper down this whole about the power of a gram of gold in this current monetary shuffling. But I'll thumb through this briefly, give you some highlights here. And it's still premature, it's still early because the numbers aren't quite lining up just right. But it's the fact that we have a Russian central bank or a central bank deciding to get into the gold game and establish a price of which what they'll be willing to pay, which is the biggest news behind this. But to give an idea, it says the Central Bank of Russia has officially announced that as of today, the Russian ruble currency is bound to gold. The rate is 5,000 rubles per gram of gold bullion. And there are 32 grams in each troy ounce. 32 gram times 5,000 rubles per gram is 160,000 rubles. And so it says the conversion rate of the rubles to US dollar is about 100 rubles or 90 kopecks to each US dollar. And it says if rubles are bound to gold at 5,000 rubles per gram, and there are 32 grams per troy ounce, meaning 1 ounce of gold would cost 160 rubles, then converting that to US dollar means gold is 1,600 per ounce when using rubles instead of the 1900 that's priced in right now in dollars. So little snaps of what that means. So right now we have all the current monetary shakeup and gold coming back to the forefront. And since the sanctions have cut off the Russian economy to the world, now Russia has everything that the world needs. And so now it's a matter of how do they reallocate that and disperse that to the world? What is the mechanism they're going to use? And so last week we touched on how the ruble was going to be used for some of the unfriendly countries, preferably the European nations. And so I've already, I haven't talked about it yet, but Poland, I think another other nation said that we're not going to be using the ruble to buy oil or whatnot. So we'll see how that plays out. But it's either you play by our rules now or you will suffer the consequences of your actions. Is kind of what it's looking like that's coming out of the East. But to long story short, the ruble is the first thing thrown out there last week in which nations will have to use the ruble to buy Russian resources. And then the gold narrative was dropped out there while the West is trying to sell us on the fact that they want to use Bitcoin as well, which the energy minister did mention that would be an opportunity. But the goal is anything except dollars. They would be willing to even take euros for a quick moment there. But now that the ruble and the gold is now officially out there, now it's a matter of how do you revalue that the worth in comparison to oil. So pretty soon we're going to be hearing more about how oil pegged to a certain measurement of weight will eventually be rolled out there. So whether it's 1 gram for 1 barrel or something of that magnitude, it's probably coming. But this right here lays a framework to where we can see how if the Russian central bank is willing to start by opening the door to what they would be willing to peg, in a sense, the ruble to a gram of gold. That is a quasi gold standard reenactment from the Eastern nations, which is a major blow to the dollar. It's the equivalent of detonating some type of monetary, I don't want to use the word nuclear, but a monetary bomb of some kind, because as of right now, all around the world, when you're talking about oil in particular, you're priced it in US dollars. When you talk about gold, you're priced it in US dollars. But it looks like the Central Bank of Russia is willing to start a different level of communication when it talks about pricing gold in ruble terms. And we'll see how the West responds, which I'm going to get to that in 1 second. So last little bit here, it says Russia just wiped out about 30% of the value of the US dollar worldwide when it comes to gold bullion. It says worse because Russia will only sell its oil and gas in rubles, and rubles are now fixed at 5,000 rubles per gram. Anyone wishing to buy oil or gas will need either to pay in rubles or pay in gold, and they won't get the US dollar value for that for gold they tender as payment. So two different measurements of gold, two different prices of gold, but yet one is on the Eastern Hemisphere, i.e. the US dollar is a debt instrument that has nothing of substance behind it other than having been used as a world reserve currency, whereas in the ruble, because of this quasi-pegging, moving forward will definitely appreciate because it will have a real world backing in the form of energy as well as any other resources that Russia decides to sell in gold or rubles. And so it says people around the world will literally be throwing their money at the ruble and dumping dollars and euros to do it. And then it says here, what Russia just did is a financial equivalent of detonating. You know what I mean by that. I don't want to say that word. That's just not something I want to throw around lightly. But anyway, so as a response to this particular information that was released over the last couple hours or so, how did the Western nations respond? Let's get into that. So as of right now, the World Gold Council and the LBMA came out with a response that not necessarily a response, but it's just not by coincidence that they also make an announcement on something that I think is worthwhile. And so let me get to this one. I got all my art, gotta scramble and get my stuff together. Give me 1 second here. Where'd I go? All right, here we go. It says here, I'll pull this up here so you guys can see it. So as of today, it was announced bullion groups launch a gold bar database to thwart fraud. So we have the Eastern nations bringing gold to the forefront, and now all of a sudden the World Gold Council and the LBMA care about fake bullion that's circulating out there. But then at the very bottom of this article, it talks about why that is, and it could be the possibility of a 2-tier gold system of some kind, and the West not acknowledging and recognizing Eastern gold. So we'll see. But real quickly, I'll put this together for you, and we'll talk about this further. But it says 2 gold industry associations are working with miners, refiners, traders, and shippers to create a database of gold bars. It says the scheme aims to exclude gold linked to violence and crime from the mainstream market. So, is there a possibility that this exclusion of this tainted gold, or as the West would like to say, this illegal, dirty gold, or something like that? Will they recognize this or use this counter to what Russia is trying to do with pricing gold? It says gold worth billions of dollars is mined each year in illegal conditions, and large amounts are sold by groups including warlords and drug traffickers. And then eventually, I wouldn't be surprised they say dictators or something like that. But it says Reuters reported in 2019 that gold bars fraudulently stamped with logos of major refineries were being inserted into the market to launder, smuggle, or illegal metal. Then it lists some of the primary key refiners associated with the LBMA, as well as the World Gold Council. And then their solution is to use the blockchain to track and trace all gold that they consider to be legal and legit. And I'd imagine this might not necessarily include countries that do business with Russia and gold and things like that. So I'm going a little bit far-fetched there, but you see how this sometimes usually play out the way that I've said before. It says blockchain-based ledgers run by 2 companies, AXTRAS and Peer Ledger, will, quote, register and track bars capturing the provenance and full transaction history. It says LBMA and WCC, members of which include miners, bankers, and refiners, wants to hasten the adoption of these systems and make sure that they can work together. And then here's the kicker. The LBMA chief executives, Ruth, said that over time, a premium could develop for traceable gold over non-traceable metal. And so what caught my attention out of this article here was that they're talking about traceable and non-traceable gold. At the end of the day, when you're talking about a monetary reorder, gold is gold. It's either you have it or you don't. Of course, all the big players, the bullion vaults, the dealers, as well as central banks, I'm sure they do their due diligence to make sure the metal's real. But now they're talking about categorizing gold in accordance to how it's received. And of course, there's already been, blood diamonds and blood gold and all that type of stuff happening out there. But as of right now, when Russia is talking about repricing a gram of gold and possibly linking it to a barrel of gold or barrel of oil or something like that down the line, we have the World Gold Council and the London Bullion Exchange talking about gold, clean gold, bad gold, 2-tier types of gold. No, gold is gold. If it's real, it's legit. It's a threat to the West. So it's very interesting to see how this is playing out. But to give you a little bit more here, the Western powers that be have used the paper pushing, COMEX futures, and all those financial products created to basically disrupt and destroy the true value of metals in a paper term. And so the World Gold Council, let me just give you an idea here. So just diving deeper and really getting to the nitty gritty of what's going on here. The World Gold Council, and here we got David Tate and all his other paper pushing Bank of England, might I add. This is, in London. We got this group here making this announcement today. And then also, if you look at the LBMA board, this is also a London, UK-based entity. So these 2 companies here are, in my opinion, scrambling right now to try to paint a different picture, to divide the gold market in some capacity towards clean gold and dirty gold. And they're now going to, I'm assuming, eventually try to bring Russia into this, and nations that deal with Russia talking about their gold being clean or not clean, and all types of things to divide the current monetary reshuffling of the deck. And so I just want to share with you here are 2 companies that they refer to as the 2 blockchain-based companies that will be working with the accredited members of the LBMA, that receive the gold from the refineries, and how they're going to track and trace the bars by inserting some type of mechanisms or something inside the gold to make sure they come from a clean, reliable source. And this is a Western agenda when you have these 2 companies here. And on the very first one, the Peer Ledger, this is the company they're using. They're talking about supporting Ukraine. So that's a flag to me that went off. And then you go down to the bottom, it talks about ESG. And of course, ESG is a Western nation, additional taxation on humanity type of process. But when they're talking about ESG as one of their concerns, but yet they're still mining, they're still using energy to bring up metals from the ground. There's no such thing as clean, efficient gold mining in a sense. And so that's just more of a reason why these people are scrambling, in my opinion, to try to, reshape the narrative, change the rules of the game. As it appears that from the Eastern nations, predominantly Russia, and eventually at some point China, how they're going to make an announcement of some kind if they haven't already. So these are just some of the things that are unfolding that I wanted to put my 2 cents on real quickly. But the monetary shakeup is occurring. And as I always said before, the primary reason for all this happens to be we have reached the end of the current monetary structure, and the rules are being rewritten at some capacity, and nations are trying to diversify themselves out of a dying fiat currency. And of course, the current structure of the fiat currencies, they're all dying. Even the Russian ruble in and of itself, if it's not associated with anything real, i.e., which it might be gold pretty soon, then it is not worth nothing, and is a liability to their own, to the Russian citizens, just like the Federal Reserve note is a liability to us if it's not pegged by anything, because it only requires more of those units to do the very same things we do today tomorrow. So anyway, just wanted to connect for a quick minute, share my 2 cents, because I couldn't cover all this in one live stream. But what do you guys think? Leave a comment down below. Where did I miss it? What did I need to add? Bring that to the table. We'll talk on that in a moment as we go live for the RTD, the People's Talk Show. And so I want to make sure you guys plug in. If you find anything of value here, take a minute, share this video or share any of the stories in here. And let's keep this conversation rolling, just trying to keep people informed and plugged in to understand what's going on, and the importance of, definitely, as I always say, of getting your weight up while you still can, because a clock is ticking, and pretty soon dealers, bullion dealers, they won't be willing to accept paper so easily unless they put a extra heavy premium on top of that. So the great metal divergence is underway, people. Anyway, be blessed, be safe. See you guys in a few. Peace.